not to always be the generalized person. It's to be a specialist of some sort of ability, and then we select traits and actions based around that. So I can see this moving forward with that, but it also has to do with what your innate actions are.
Okay.
I think there was one more over here. Yep.
Yes. My question is, in your presentation, you just used one level for 5 different types of players. For runner, for...
Survivalist, monster killer.
Yes, yes. So you make one level and you develop it for many people. But maybe it will be easier to divide your level and sort it by difficulty. So easy, medium, and hard.
Right.
And the easy level will be aimed on runner, for example. Medium is for treasure hunter, and the hard one is for challenges and monster killer.
So what you can do is go through and you can evaluate it against 5 or 6 different personas, and you can come up with, like, this level is either beatable by a level 3 barbarian or a level 14 wizard, because there's something in there. So you could measure it against a whole bunch of different personas, personas could also be classes as well.
So not the type of the player's mind, just the class in the game.
It could be both. It could either be what you think a player will act. So in some games you don't really have classes, you have skill sets and you can select amongst them and build your own. In others you have well-defined, I'm a barbarian, I'm a wizard, I'm a elf, whatever you want inside of there. So it depends on kind of how you set up your game. But the idea is you could measure this with an AI going through that pretends to be all of these, then you can kind of check, okay, our elves are going to die on this. What's a new path? Maybe there's a quest item that they need for their quest path. How can you realign that to make sure that it's defeatable by them? Or what do you do in order to have maybe an alternative path?
Well, actually, there are some questions on this study.
Yeah.
Because when you make basic elements like the treasure, monster, exit, and potion,
Sure.
you get five set of classes. But why was this element was chosen? Because if I would take, I don't know, bridges, there can be some class and a bridge lover or a bridge hater. Why? What's the logic of the element chosen? Why the most?
So why did they come up with these the elements within the game?
Yes, because the classes are based on the usage of the elements.
Yes.
So why these elements? That's my question.
I don't know.
In your study, you are looking for. I'm sorry for my English.
No problem.
Here you present a clear strategies. Polar. The one who likes only treasure, the one who likes only kill, but most players have mixed strategies. They do like kills and treasure, and sometimes they do want to survive or find the exit.
So Lapis and Homgard, when they did this work, they were looking at these very polarizing opposites.
Refined.
Yeah, I think that there probably is some sort of spectrum in there between the two. But in terms of how do you take that in, you'd have to come up with some.
Здравствуйте, уважаемые владельцы Рено с госномером 383, просьба передвинуть автомобиль в связи с работами на фасаде.
Okay. What was your question? No, okay. So in terms of that, when you're doing this, yes, they put some very polar opposites. Part of that is because very simple early study trying to understand this. So they're looking at these very simplistic models and then trying to do this as, hey, this is a thing we can do, and look, it kind of works on this. So I'm assuming that for actual larger games, that there probably is this, and also you'd have to do those player studies at some point.
Уважаемые владельцы автомобиля Рено 383, просьба стоп.
So with that, in inside some of my own work, I was looking at how the framework and how do we bridge this now. Remember how I said earlier that one of the big problems with this is that they don't look at it, they throw away everything. I'm saying don't throw it away, and also take gameplay traces from real players after the product is out, after you have your MVP, and then redefine your personas. So put some more in there. So you could have a treasure hunting, killing, you know, somewhere in there. And if you see that in your actual gameplay, then you need to readjust for that.
My question is almost the same. So first you said that we are looking for our targets, our users, and that's that we have these personas. Well, where is the balance between this? So if we have half of users which are monster killers, or half of users which are survivors, how can we balance our level?
Right, so what you need to do is run through with both AIs and try to find, there probably is a set of levels such that both Susie A and Susie B can both complete that level successfully at the same level. Or, sorry, this is one of those, I think there is, yeah. So that they complete them at the same rate in terms of it, yes.
If they have A, B, C, D, or etc., it will be the same.
That you would want to design levels, you might have levels where you want it to be harder on B and then easier on A, or vice versa, but then sometimes you want everybody to be happy with it, right? So in early levels of the game, in early ones, you can say, okay, I want A, B, C all to be able to complete this within this time frame. For later levels, you might have it branch off in terms of the story or the narrative or whatever you're doing in terms of that, and have it be, this is really easily completable by C, but A and B will have a hard time at it. It's not impossible, but at least it's very hard for them. And maybe this is something to also enforce, that a player needs to somehow change their strategy around. Maybe in that level I go, well, I normally am a treasure collector, but this is just too hard, so I need to be a monster killer, I need to be a this in order to solve it. So don't even think with a persona that they always need to play that way. We can make them kind of learn from that experience. I think fighting games are very good at this. There's a lot of like the amiibos and that, where they monitor how you're playing through the game, and then based on how you're playing through the game, they then adjust to become more difficult as you go on. They learn what you do, and then creates a strategy to beat you.
So whoever adaptates to me as a player. So whoever and the game will adaptate to me.
Yes. So they have what's known as adaptive difficulty in terms of that. So design and narrative. So I want to talk about kind of there. One of the big things that I've touched on it now, up till now, with the kind of the design of the levels based on these play traces, but you've probably heard of procedural content generation, or PCG. This is the new big kind of area in terms of games development coming out right now. Tegelius, very nice gentleman, and he's now in New York, but I met him in Denmark and did some studying in his lab, says that procedural content generation in games refers to the creation of game content automatically using algorithms. Okay? So this is creating some sort of game asset for this. Wikipedia is a little bit targeting towards computer graphics. Procedural content generation creates content algorithmically rather than manually. In video games, graphic content can be created on the host computer instead of a pre-rendered artwork package for that. So still we're seeing this word automatically, algorithmically through it. Procedural content generation wiki, so refining down to there. Creating game content using a random or pseudo-random process that results in an unpredictable range of possible gameplay spaces. Okay, so we're building content, it's unpredictable, it's random. I don't know if I like those two words with it, but it's big, it's gameplay space. Ian Carberry, procedural content generation is the automatic creation of video game content, where content means anything that is traditionally created by an artist or designer, such as maps, textures, levels, and objects. Okay, so basically building everything. Content creation usually requires equal parts creativity, we like creativity, and scut work. So scut work is basically like, drudgery, right? Boo, drudgery, yay, creativity. So the aim of procedural content generation is to relieve the designer of the scut work in ways that create more opportunities for creativity. And really, all this amounts to is, for all of these definitions, I'm going to make some things automatically in the game that would normally be developed by a human designer, and hopefully allow a human designer to now think about how does the world feel, the fluff, how do I ensure that, they can get from part A to part B. So each of these definitions have the notion of creation not by a designer, but by an algorithm. Also, what processing element in terms of that, whether it's offline or online. Creativity, yay, step work, boo. Random content, it's not quite random, it's more targeted. And there's this idea of game spaces. So there's this large area of the game we can build all these things for. And when it comes to game spaces, you see this a lot in some of the kind of smaller development teams, but larger works is what they're aiming for. We see this in Binding of Isaac, the layout of the various levels, the pieces, what enemies are inside of it, what levels you get from it, these roguelikes. Faster Than Light has this too, in terms of how you move through, what enemies you face, how everything's set up, what encounters you have. Spelunky, again, how the level is laid out. So a lot of these up till now have basically been roguelikes. But we've probably also seen this one, right? Minecraft, the original world is based upon a random number generation seed, and then that creates the world out from that. Yeah. So I think part of it is that PCG is not really a magic bullet that I think everybody says that it is. How many people are familiar with No Man's Sky and the whole controversy around that?
Wow.
So they basically came out with, hey, we're going to build like the whole universe and you can fly through the universe and you can go anywhere and do anything and da 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 da. Okay, and when I heard that I was like, no. So it shouldn't be relied upon to make really the entire game, because No Man's Sky, it's really a great idea, but you know what was really lacking? The narrative, the flow through it, why am I doing this? All those things that we just talked about, right? About why are people playing this game? So it's a wonderful force multiplier when it's used well. Look at all of those games that I showed you. I think every single one of them was a development team of no more than about 2-3 people. Time spent making a PCG generator has to look at both quality and also what content